So, Divyank, while we were discussing about the Demolish Prelims Bootcamp, you were quite passionate about the 9 blind spots that took you several years to identify. And you believe that even today, each year, thousands of students miss out in the prelims exam because of not identifying these 9 blind spots and keep repeating the same mistakes. Please elaborate on these blind spots, Divyank.
Yes, sir. So as you said that these blind spots look very familiar, but they are the main reason for many attempters, especially aspirants in the first attempt and the second attempts, who could not clear this exam. So first issue is that aspirants fail to plan, which is basically we can say that that is a planning fallacy. So what they do is they focus on random resources. They will run after different sources. For example, they will go after India Yearbook. They will read multiple magazines. So as a result, what happens that when the last month of prelims come, they have covered only half syllabus, and for that they might have read 2 to 3 sources for one subject, and other sources they might have ignored. Because of that, in that haphazard manner, when they attempt, they fail. This is the case of mostly first attempters. In the second attempters, what happens that they think that they failed because of the knowledge gap. So in the second attempt, they will go after reading multiple books again for each and everything, and they will think that they will be able to clear exam again. But they fail again because of the issues which I will discuss later. Again, which is again can be summarized that they are failing to plan. So that is one thing. So that is why I've shared this rough timeline with you all. This is in line. This is basically for the people who are going for the first attempters. So what you guys can do is that you can complete your first iteration. You should aim to complete your first iteration by the end of Jan. Like by 31st Jan, you should be able to complete your first iteration. Then you can complete the second iteration in Feb and March. Then the third iteration should be in April, like 1 month for the third iteration. Then the fourth iteration in the first 15 days of May. Fifth iteration in just 5 days, 5 to 6 days, and then the sixth iteration will be in 3 days. And then on 25th, you will be ready and good to go for the prelims exam. So this is how you should. This should be the rough timeline. You can modify as per your own syllabus, which is left, and own planning. But this is how you should aim. Like if you are giving first attempt, this should be your iteration approach. So this is one thing. Second issue with respect to the blind spot is that aspirants focus on the wrong current affairs. For example, in the market, we are running after so many test series or so many coaching material, yearly compilation of the current affairs. But if you look at the previous year papers, be it 2024, be it 2023, you will find that not even 4 to 5 questions are being directly asked from that current affairs material. And that is why, which itself shows that UPSC knows that you are reading those books and it wants to deliberately eliminate those sources. So what are the reason? What are the actual sources? Like I have analyzed and I have talked with Sir as well that PIB is something from which UPSC is asking. And moreover, UPSC is not restricting itself to just 1 year of current affairs. It is going beyond that. So like even up to 3 4 years current affairs are being asked. But since we have limited time at our hand, we cannot go for 3 to 4 years. But yes, what we can do is we can get some good notes of PIB, which cover like 2 years of current affairs. So that will give you an edge from the people who are just focusing on current affairs magazine, and that too of only 1 year. So this is how you should do smart preparation. So focusing on the right current affairs is the need of the time, rather than expanding and going after multiple coaching current affairs. That is the second mistake which people commit.
And exactly for this reason, we are helping students with the PYQ Manthan cohort, where we are covering 2 years of PIB press releases and compilations, along with the supplementary current affairs.
And so, in fact, so one of the reason why I was able to score because unconsciously or unknowingly, I was reading PIB yearly summary, which comes like at the end of every year. I was reading that for my interview because in the interview you should be well versed with the facts and the with the data and the government schemes. So if you are well versed with that, you are able to give an answer which satisfies the board members or which ensures that you are getting high marks in interview. So I think that knowledge of mine helped me in the 2023 and 2024 because I was able to use that PIB knowledge and was able to solve 1 or 2 questions or 3 4 questions more compared to other people. So that is also one reason. So third blind spot, which that is unrevisable notes. For example, I will give my case. When I failed, like in 2021, when I failed to clear the prelims, one of the main reason was that my notes were not very concise. For example, spectrum. If I talk about the spectrum for modern history, I didn't make very short notes of that book, and that is why I was revising it about 2 days before the exam, and it took me whole day, and that is why I missed on revising some of the most important things which are needed to be revised exact one day before the exam. Like mapping is one of them. Then Ramsar site, biodiversity site, then national park, wildlife sanctuary. These are something you revise one day before the exam. But if you already have a load of revising the standard books like Lakshmi Kant or Spectrum, and that too you are reading from end to end. You are bound to fail. That is, you are bound to fail in that exam. So what I changed in 2022 was that I summarized my notes up to that extent that I was able to revise Spectrum or modern history in just 2.5 to 3 years. That was the crispy. That's how much my notes were crisp. So you can imagine from that. Also, I will give you example in the next slide about how you can make a smart notes. So this is an example from the art and culture. If you go through the book of Nitin Singhania, which is well known for art and culture, you will see that there is a chapter on folk music. That what are the folk music which are popular. So rather than just reading it from the book, you will find it very daunting that you won't be able to remember any of that. So if you want, this is one way how you can make it better. That in the map itself, I have written what are the folk music of a particular state. So as a human, our pictographical memory is very higher compared to words memory. So if you see this folk dance or folk music notes, and you see that okay, in this state I wrote this dance or this music. So when the question paper comes and when you see the question, you will be able to eliminate or mark that question right. So I think that is how you should be able to make your notes, that you are able to recall them in the right manner, because the syllabus of prelims is basically anything under the sun. But if you are able to concise that in a right manner, you will find it very easy and you will be able to clear it every time. Like many people have done that. This is like agriculture notes. So if you go through the PYQs, you will find that UPSC asks at least 1 to 2 questions from agriculture, like this crop. They will give the name of the crop. So, for example, rice is one crop. So, what are the percentage? How much area is under the cultivation of rice? So, this is like 2023 question itself. Then, which state is the top producer in that crop? Then, what is the ranking of India in that crop? Then the export. How much metric ton of export is done in that crop? What is the season, like whether it is a Kharif, Rabi, Zaid. This is how I made notes, so that I am able to. This is very structured. Every crop is there, and I can revise it. Similarly, with respect to geography mapping, so this is about. I don't know if you can clearly see the headings, but like in the red, what in the first column, the heading is river. Then the second is the where it originates. In the third column, it is the cities which are located on the river. Fourth is the what are the boundaries of the river, like in between which valleys or which mountain the river flows, and fifth is tributaries, and sixth is the special feature. So if I have to if I have read something about Indus, I will put that in that column, in that row, so that I am able to revise everything about Indus in this just one line, one row. So that is how you are able to recall and remember the exact stuff, and you increase your marks, you increase the accuracy, and you gain edge over the others.
Again, exactly for this reason, we are helping students through the nuclear notes so that students can revise content multiple times before the examination, both as part of PYQ nuclear notes and PIB nuclear notes.
So now the fourth blind spot is actually mock test fallacy. So there are two kind of fallacy in mock test. First, basically there are two kind of people or aspirants which with respect to mock test fallacy. First, aspirants are those who don't give enough number of mocks. So they might have given only 5, 6, 7, or up to 10 number of tests. So so when you give these number of tests, you are not able to develop the right approach of solving the MCQs. Your mindset does not develop, and that is when you don't make yourself familiar with the new questions, and that is why you are not versed in solving a prelims paper. So you are bound to fail. This is one of the mistake which people make. Second is with respect to attempting tests of the test series which are not aligned with the UPSC or basically misaligned tests. So, for example, if you are attempting a test paper of any coaching, which, for example, in UPSC, what happens that there is a certain pattern or there is certain cheat codes or certain techniques which are applied in UPSC. Factual statement or data will be wrong in UPSC, or any general statement will be right in UPSC. So these might sound like a bit technical to all of you, but I have made a separate video on this before. You can go through that. So these are certain techniques which generally UPSC follows. But in test series, what happens that they reverse those techniques. So they will make any technique right, or they will make general statements wrong. So because of that, what happens that students might be able to score very high in the test series, but when they go to UPSC, that is the first time they actually see the paper which does not follow those techniques, but has been following a different technique. So they are bound to make mistakes on those question, and that is why their score comes down. So this, and I've seen this with my friends. Like in the test series, they were scoring 130, 120, 140, and when the actual paper came, they missed. They scored only 85 or 88 marks, and they missed the cutoff. While on the other hand, if I tell you my experience in the 2020 before the 2024 paper, I was on an average I scored like 74 marks in Vision IAS Abhyas. In next IAS Anubhav, which was given by about 34,000 people, I guess, if I'm not wrong. I scored only 67 marks. So that was so these were my score. But in the actual UPSC exam, I scored like 125 on an average as per the various test series. So this is how you ensure that you are not solving misaligned tests.
Yeah, and this is exactly how you'll be using, how you'll be helping the students through the ranker super tests, where you'll be solving the tests and questions live with the students, Divyank.
We have planned some mini test as well. So in that mini test, we will be solving. We will be ensuring that the people that students are actually solving questions which are in line with the UPSC, and they are solving it under pressure. And after each question, we will be giving them the reasoning of that question, and we will be explaining the logic behind and the thought process behind that question. So that is how they will be able to practice do 25 simulation in one test and then multiply it by 10 tests. So that is how they can ensure that they are giving tests which will be which are just like.
So that you will be also taking up in the Demolish Prelims Bootcamp.
Now the fifth blind spot which comes here is that ignoring the most important themes and patterns. So this is also one of the mistake which I did in 2021 when I failed, was that I did not analyze the UPSC pattern or UPSC PYQs and understand that what UPSC is actually after. So, for example, historical timeline. Like I read whole of medieval, but I didn't remember the exact timeline, like which king came at what time, what was the dynasty after this dynasty, which dynasty came, or which dynasty was before this dynasty. But UPSC is asking these things only. UPSC is not asking about the whole kahani, whole story which you read. It is asking about this thing. So obviously, if these two things are not aligned with each other, no matter what you read, you will not be able to solve these questions. So these are some things which either you have to find by yourself, or you have to find a mentor or a guide or someone who tells you this thing that this is required. So this is one thing. Second is mapping. Like students read so many students are running after polity, after modern history, after economy, and they forget to focus on mapping. While UPSC is asking about 10 to 15 questions from mapping, from historical mapping and geographical mapping. So and it is coming from, and if you do basic things, you will be able to get about 60, 70 or 80% of those questions right. While in the modern history, you cannot say this no matter how much you read, because they can go to any depth. So this is how you actually understand the themes. Third is bio. Like people ignore bio, but if you go through the UPSC papers, you will find that UPSC is asking questions from that. So you must be well versed with the bio till class 10. And the good thing is that we all have read bio till class 10. So you can just go and revise that, or you can take the help of any YouTube channel or any teacher on YouTube who teaches that. Similar is the case with Buddhism and Jainism. So you might leave one or two topics in art and culture, but you must focus and ensure that Buddhism and Jainism is done in detail. Read about the monks of Buddhism and Jainism. Read about the books which are being written by those monks and popular books in these religion, then about the Tirthankas and about the Pitakas and the philosophy. So these are something you have to read in detail so that you don't miss question from this. So this is the fifth blind spot.
So these PYQ micro themes we have discussed, and we'll be covering this as part of the PYQ Manthan PYQ anchoring cohort. And 90 most important, most repetitive micro themes will be identified, taught in the active recall classes and through the nuclear notes.
Sixth blind spot is about the source multiplication. So I talked about this in the first blind spot. This is linked to that. That for example, if anyone has to read about Lakshmikant, so they will about quality. So they will read Lakshmikant and then they will add D.D. Basu as well, and then they will go about NCRTs as well. So what happens that you are not well versed with even one thing, and you make questions. You are marking questions wrong from that book itself, and now you are expanding it. So reading just multiple sources doesn't help. If you are so hell bent on increasing the sources, what you should do, you should ensure that the basic, you should make one book as a base. You should go through that book about 4 to 5 times, 3 to 4 times, and then you should expand on that. So that is if you have enough time. But before that, you should not follow this approach that you have done only one iteration and then you have started another iteration of any other book. So this should not be the approach. Okay, so because what happens that you will be missing out on the revision aspect and you will fail. And you will think that you have read a lot, but still you failed. You failed because you could not recall the right stuff at the right time. That is why you are bound to fail. So don't chase multiple sources. Focus on one. Once you have mastered that, then you can move on to the another. So seventh blind spot is ignoring the PYQ cheat codes. So UPSC I have given like 5 attempts, and believe me, in like not in no attempt I was able to score more than 35 question in the first iteration, like the questions which I knew 100%. And I think I have a decent knowledge base. Despite that, because I have also read a lot, but I have a decent knowledge base. But despite that, I could not attempt more than 35-40 question in the first iteration. So and the reason actually is that UPSC asks question from, and it can ask from anywhere. So no matter how well read you are, you have to rely on some of the PYQ techniques or cheat codes or tricks which UPSC follows, and that is how people score 110, 120, 130. So that is the reason. So when you go through the PYQ, you will find some of the cheat codes. I have discussed those cheat codes in the previous video which I made. So you can go through to get an idea that how 2024 prelims was solved by taking the help of previous year questions, so that you can actually make a link between these between 2024 and the previous year papers. So that is how you can use the PYQ cheat codes.
And these you are also going to discuss in the Demolish Prelims Bootcamp live with the student.
Yes. So we will be discussing these in depth. We will be looking at the multiple techniques, about 15 to 16 techniques that what are generally followed by UPSC, and then we will be solving questions on that on them, so that we are able to master it before the 2025 prelims come. Okay, eighth and the most also very important blind spot is fear management. So whenever any student asks me about the fear, I always remember this quote of Customato. Customato was the coach of Mike Tyson. So when Mike Tyson was young, he said to his coach Customato that whenever I go for a fight, I have a very deep fear from my opponent. So he said this very beautiful lines that fear is like a fire. You can make it work for you. It can warm you in winter, cook you your food when you are hungry, give you light when you are in the dark, and produce energy. Let it go out of control and it can hurt you, even kill you. So that is the role of fear. Fear is very important. Like only the most foolish are free of fear, but fear must be controlled, and that fear can be controlled only when you have followed some of the techniques. Like simulation is one thing which I used to do. Like before going to the prelims paper, I used to simulate that in my mind, like simulate in the actual paper. Like I have given, as I said, that I gave vision abhyas so that I'm able to simulate it in the real-time environment. I solved multiple FLTs so that I am able to perform under pressure. That is one thing. Second is visualization, that you have to visualize that before going the exam. daily you are taking out 1 minute, 2 minute before that, so that you are able to you are able to visualize yourself sitting in the exam hall. Pressure is there on you, but still you are calm. So when you do this, your mind is ready beforehand. Because one of the best thing about mind or the worst thing about mind is that it is not able to differentiate between the things happening in the real life and the things happening in the virtual mind, in the imaginative reality or in the imagination. So you can use that technique to your own advantage. So this is how you do. थर्ड इज पॉजिटिव अफर्मेशन कि भाई फोड़ के आएंगे, इतना पढ़ा है, सारी चीजें ब्लाइंड स्पॉट सारे जो है वो कवर किए हैं. हाउ विल आई फेल? आई विल नॉट फेल. आई विल डू गुड. So this is how you keep your fear in control. Don't let go of the fear. Fear is important, but control it. So that is how you use this technique.
And again, Devyani madam is going to help students with fear management and other aspects of productivity enhancement as part of the Demolish Prelims program.
And ninth, again, this is very important. This has become very important, especially after the 2023 CSAT. That ignoring CSAT is something which can cost you heavily. I have my best friend from UPSC preparation. Actually, he scored like in 2022, he scored 110 marks. But in 2023 prelims, CSAT, he scored 64 marks, 64.5. So because of one question, it costed him 1 year. And the worst thing was that in 2022, he reached till the interview stage. So he failed in that, and then he failed in 2023 because of the CSAT. So avoid the stupid. Like, don't, if you are failing in anything, fail because of big mistakes. Don't commit stupid mistakes. So this I call it stupid. कि जो है वो आप CSAT में फेल हो गया है, मतलब आप मेंस में जो है वो लैंग्वेज पेपर में फेल हो गए. तो अगर फेल होना है तो ऐसी चीजों में फेल हो कि बताने लायक छोड़े कोई, कि आप बता सको कि अच्छा मैं इस वजह से फेल हुआ. Like, don't do this. So focus on that as well.
So guys, Divyank is going to help you in the Demolish Prelims Bootcamp to learn or to overcome these 9 blind spots live. And he'll be also discussing the cheat codes that he has just discussed with you in live interactive manner. So guys, register for the Demolish Prelims Bootcamp. The registration link is given in the description box below. See you guys in the bootcamp.